Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Okay. Our speaker is, please help me welcome our speaker, Father Leo.
Hi everybody, my name is Leo Booth and I'm an alcoholic. First of all, I want to say it's a great joy and privilege to be speaking to you tonight. I want to congratulate all those who celebrated their birthday, and also David, for your 10-minute talk. Appreciate it very much. I had a father who suffered from a gambling addiction, so I'm glad you were able to share that with us. Whenever you have a chance to come and speak, especially if you don't know too many of the people who are here, there is a tendency maybe to go to fear. But I do not have fear. I do not fear anybody who's in this meeting, because I truly believe that you want the best for me, even if you do not know me. However, there is one person that I do fear, and his name is Leo Booth. Because I do not know whether you would agree, but I have been consistently the biggest problem in my life. But spiritually, you've all realized by now that if I can be the biggest problem in my life, and I surely have been that, then I can also be the biggest solution. And so for me to come here tonight, by the way, it's very clear to me that I am with people with not only many years of experience, but artistic people, people who clearly live outside of the box, people who by nature push the envelope. You are artists. And that is why I think the spiritual message is so important to you. You heard with the introduction that your speaker tonight is Father Leo Booth. I was never a Roman Catholic priest. But I was raised by Jesuits in England. A lady outside thought I was from Ohio. I'm not from Ohio. I had been to Ohio, but she thought I was from Cleveland. I explained it gets better. But I was educated by Jesuits in England. They taught me to think. They taught me to write. It was a different time then. There was a pope who was Italian. He was a large pope. He loved to laugh, he loved to smile. And people thought the church was going to change with him. He had a great sense of humor, so you'd have loved him. One day, a reporter said to him, "Your Holiness, how many people work at the Vatican?" He said, "About half." That's the kind of Pope I like. For 26 years, I was a priest in the Episcopal Church, which is this church here. The Episcopal Church is the church that at the present time is discussing whether people should be gay. It's a little late. Today I belong to a church many of you are familiar with. It is the Unity Church. It celebrates all people, regardless of your spiritual path. It blesses the Buddhist and the Hindu, the Jewish and the Muslim, and the Christian. But there are many people here who do not belong to any religion. And that, by the way, is the fascination of Alcoholics Anonymous. When Bill Wilson was writing the steps, he came so close to saying, having had a religious awakening as a result of these steps, but it was his wife, Lois, who said to him, "Bill, Bill," because she had a loud voice. And he said, "What, Lois?" And she said, "Don't say religious. Say spiritual." Spirituality is what connects every one of us here, whether you believe in God or not. Spirituality is the power to reach outside of yourself, having had a spiritual awakening. Whatever your job may be, it enables you to do it with a kindness and a gentleness. It allows you to reach beyond yourself. You will never be exhausted. Books, movies will be written about it, filmed. We will never exhaust this topic. And so as I come to you as somebody who for over 25 years has been a student of theology and philosophy, I'm very conscious of the fact that this is a spiritual program, not a religious program. When I saw so many people keeping their birthdays, I had to share with you. Last month, on the 4th of July, I celebrated 32 years in recovery from alcoholism. And I shared, oh, thank you, but that's not the reason I said it. Thank you, though, thank you. It's very kind of you to put your hands together. But I said it to you only because it really doesn't matter how many years you have. One sentence, one word can be shared with a newcomer, and all of a sudden, you begin to think again about your recovery. Some people think that the 12 steps are written on pieces of paper. The truth is, the 12 steps are written in our hearts. It's not something that's on paper. It's something we live. The program is a living program. And so, when I look around, I see people I've seen before, and it's nice to see you again, and there's so many new people I've never met before. I live in Long Beach. And so I drove up here to be here. And it's always a privilege A few weeks ago at my morning meeting, 7 o'clock in the morning, Marina Pacifica in Long Beach, I was having a coffee at Starbucks on my own. And I saw a young man who had red hair, green hair, blue hair, and orange hair. He was very noticeable. And he caught me looking at him and he said, "What are you looking at? Have you never done anything adventurous in your life?" I said, "Yes. Once I had sex with a peacock." And I wondered if you were my son. There are people who belong to Al-Anon, OA, GA, SAA, and they always say something about Alcoholics Anonymous. They say there's something incredible about the laughter that's in these rooms. Other programs don't quite have it yet. If some of you are struggling with humor and you suffer from terminal seriousness, when you go home, take off your clothes and look in the mirror. Believe me, God has a sense of humor. If you're still not laughing, invite the neighbors in. What it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. I was at an English school. It's called a public school. In England, a public school means it's not open to the public. It's just the way they are, the English. And they used to give you beer to drink when you were 16 years of age. It was a boys' school. And it wasn't so much that I liked the taste, and it wasn't so much that I got drunk, but I liked how I felt when I drank. I had a stutter when I was young. When I drank, I lost the stutter. I'm 5'7", 5'8" on a very good day. When I drank, I felt 6'2". I thought I'd found a friend. I thought I'd found a friend. I drank through the universities and graduated. But I knew my relationship with alcohol was different from so many of my friends. It became my friend. And I never thought that friend would ever turn on me. I thought he was going to be a friend that would give me confidence and hope and make me funny. But somewhere along the line, and I cannot tell you when, it changed. I didn't realize that. Those of you who listen to Clancy know that he shares often that our brokenness was before we took the drink. And then when we stop drinking, there's a dilemma. Because without the drink, what do we replace it with? My answer, and an answer that I've been fascinated with for 32 years, is spirituality. In the early 70s, I was let loose on a church. And just like many of you, I had to have an excuse. So I told the other priests that I was looking for the lost and the lonely, those sheep without a shepherd. And I said they were all in the bar. And if you go into a bar dressed like a priest, people notice you. They used to come up to me and say, "You're the kind of priest we like. You drink like we drink. You smoke like we smoke. You throw up like we throw up." All the drunks from the bar came to my church. They came to listen to what I might say, because they had no idea. What they didn't realize was neither did I. And I've always said it because I'm sure it's true. If you're an alcoholic and a nurse, there's going to be times you're drunk in the hospital. If you're an alcoholic and you drive a truck, there's going to be times you're hungover in the truck. If you're an Episcopal priest and an alcoholic, there's going to be times you're drunk doing church services. Because that's what we do. I remember once doing a funeral, and I'd had far too much to drink. You're supposed to stop at the hole. I followed the coffin into the hole. It's a hell of a drop. It's 12 feet. But it was an Irish funeral. Nobody noticed. Then somebody said, "There's a priest in a hole." And they got me out. I was full of dirt. They just pulled me out. And we carried on. Now, wouldn't you have thought somebody would have said, "You've just been in a hole. Are you okay?" Nobody said anything. And I say to you at this meeting because maybe it's something to consider. Nobody said anything. And because nobody said anything, nothing changed. I wonder how many of us are here because somebody said something. A wife, a husband, a son, a daughter, a judge, a physician. Somebody said something. There are so many ways of doing an intervention. Some people think interventions only take place on A&E. But there are so many interventions in life. Somebody who loves you says something to you. They don't need to. And they're very nervous when they say it. Because they're not professional interventionists. But they love you. And they dare to say something. And maybe our lives change. In this case, nobody said anything, so nothing changed. And because I do services, the next service I did was a baptism. It was a big baptism. There were a lot of people there, 300-400 people. Some of them had flown in for the baptism. And I'd been drinking, but I wasn't drunk. But I was mellow. And if you know when you're mellow, you don't need any help. When you're mellow, it's like, ooh, ooh. Give me the baby. I baptize the baby in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Daphne. The mother, she let loose such a scream. She said, "Father Leo, it's a little boy." I said, "Well, he's Daphne now." I remember her saying, "Is there anything we can do about it?" I said, "No." Forever and a day he will be called Daphne. However, this mother was not like the funeral group. This mother called the bishop. A bishop is only an employer dressed in purple. The bishop called me. This was in England, in a place called Chichester. I used to live in Brighton. I went to see the bishop in his palace. I always remember, he said, "I've got a letter, I've got a letter." I said, "Good." He said, "It's about you, you fool. Are you sick? Are you demented? Are you having a nervous breakdown?" And then he looked at me straight in the eyes. He was a small man. He said, had you been drinking? Had you been drinking? See if you can identify with this. Who? Me? I swear on the Bible. But he didn't believe me. He didn't believe me. And I always remember, because this was 1977, it's a long time ago. Some of you may not have been born. The bishop looked at me and he said, "Quit it. For God's sake, quit it." I said, "Quit it?" He said, "Quit it." I said, "I'll quit it." He said, "Good, quit it." I'll quit it. I'll quit it. I quit it for 6 months. By the way, we call it in these meetings, I was dry. He never referred me to AA, he never referred me to a therapist. He never sent me to a treatment center. Quit it! Just quit it! For God's sake, quit it. I think those 6 months were the worst 6 months of my life. You know, in AA we say, you're dry like a dry leaf. You know, with a dry leaf, you put any pressure on a dry leaf, it'll snap. Sobriety is being supple. You live and you let live. You learn to bend. For 6 months I was dry. It was not to last long. I remember being invited to a girl's 21st party. I'd been drinking 7-Up for 6 months. I was fizzed out on 7-Up. And I remember being at this 21st party, and I remember somebody came over to me and said, I know you. You're Father Leo. You live in Brighton. You drink gin and tonic. Let me get you a nice gin and tonic. A nice gin and tonic in England means a double. All you need to know is I said, okay. That's all. Why should you expect anything different? I was dry. I'd never been to these meetings. I just stopped. I was lonelier than ever. I had that drink and I went home. Some of you may have thought maybe I would have had 6 or 7 drinks. I didn't have 6 or 7 drinks. I had 1 drink and I went home. Cunning, baffling, powerful. This is a disease that can wait. When I woke up next morning after that one drink, I noticed my watch was missing. I'd left it in the restroom. I went back to the hotel, same barman. Could have been the same glass from the same bottle of gin. He gave me the watch, and then he said to me, have one for the road. Last night I had one. That morning at 11 o'clock in the morning, I took that first drink and the lion was disturbed. And if you're an alcoholic, you're going to know exactly what I mean. I wanted to drink then, you see. And I took a drink and I had a drink and another drink. And then I went to another bar and had a drink and another bar, in a place called East Grinstead. All you need to know is by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I was as drunk as a skunk. It's my last drink. I tried to drive home at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. My car hit a tree and hit a lamppost, and the car shot up in the air like a rocket, Two old ladies in a garden said, look, there goes Father Leo. That's how he travels now. By the way, I crashed the car, went through the windscreen. If this is a meeting that says hello to the speaker, if you ask me to turn around, you'll see I have 12 stitches. I was the only one hurt. But there was a moment. Some religious people twist what I say because they have their own interpretation. I want you to know what I've said. There's a moment in life when you see yourself. I saw myself bleeding and hurt, and I didn't like what I saw. There's a moment. Some of you in this room had moments too. You woke up in a prison and you know you're not a criminal. You woke up in jail. Some of you, the person that you love more than anything else in the world has got a bruised face because of you. Some of you in this room have children and you love your children, and let nobody ever say that you do not love your children. Your children do not want to speak to you. There's many moments in this room. I'd love to be able to say to you that if you had a moment, you're home and dry. But if you want to know what the real miracle is, it's how do you keep the moment alive? How do you polish the moment? The only place I know that polishes these moments, what it was like, what happened the moment, and what it's like now. The only place that I know that polishes those moments is Alcoholics Anonymous. In 1977, I went into treatment for 3 months, and I went to a recovery home for 6 months. During that time, I went to Alcoholics Anonymous. In those days in England, I had to travel quite a distance. And one of the first meetings I ever went to, it was a little Jewish woman who'd come from Poland. She was the speaker, and she had spent some years in one of the camps. In fact, she had a number. I had not had the same experiences that she had. And yet everything that she shared, the loneliness, the fear, the doubt, the shame, I could identify with. There are some people who come to Alcoholics Anonymous and they'll share with you that they didn't like it at first. I have to tell you, I loved it. I never, ever met people share with the honesty that we share with. I never, ever heard speakers share the way we share. All my life I've been in churches. I've never heard the honesty in any church like I've heard in Alcoholics Anonymous. I'd found my tribe. I was coming home. And for you to know, for 32 years, I've never left. In 1980, I came to the United States, and I've spent the rest of those years, as some of you may know, as a consultant to treatment centers. You see, I believe in this message. This message to me is so powerful. Sometimes in gratitude we say what this message has done. Friends of mine who'd been unable to do any acting for years are suddenly doing jobs and creating parts that were never offered to them before. Friends who are musicians are singing songs and reaching creative thought they'd never been able to reach before. Writers write and speakers speak. This you understand. Spirituality for me is the golden thread that connects everybody that's here. Spirituality for me is being positive and creative. Who would have thought a priest who lived all of his life in England would be living in Los Angeles, invited to talk about his recovery on Oprah, and be able to speak to people like yourselves? I don't know whether the word gratitude quite does it. Chris Christopherson wrote a song and it said, "Please don't tell me how the story ends." Today I live in the moment. I don't know how this story will end. All I know is I've never been happier. I can face my shadows. I can accept my loneliness. I understand my dark side in my sobriety. I can sometimes embrace it, and it makes me stronger. Time goes very quickly. Very quickly for you to know. I've never been a religious fundamentalist, and I'm not a fundamentalist in Alcoholics Anonymous. I believe there are many stories. People who I do not touch, other people will touch. We have no authorities in Alcoholics Anonymous. There are no gurus. If you put somebody on a pedestal, believe you me, you make them very lonely. All of us have something to bring. When people say to me that this is like a cult, there's nothing less like a cult. We are so disorganized. We have no leaders. And we creatively interpret what these words mean because they are only words. But we make them come alive. I'll end with something I've shared before, and maybe some of you have heard me share it. 8 years ago at a convention in Atlanta, I shared about the moment, and a young man came to me, and his name was David. He was in a recovery home, and he shook my hand. Gosh, he shook my hand. And he said, "I liked what you said about the moment." I said, "Did you have a car crash, David?" He said, "No." He said, "Do you believe you can have a moment through a song?" I said, "A song?" He said, "A song." I said, "Oh, surely, surely." If I can see myself in a car crash, you can surely see yourself through a song. He said, because I was going to get some crack. I'm alcoholic, but I use crack as well. And he said, I was going to get the crack, and then all of a sudden, a song came on. And you know, I'd listened to this song so many times before, but I'd never heard it. I said, what was the song? He said, the song. The song was sung by a group from your country. I said, tell me the song. He said, the song saved my life. It stopped me going out, and I called my sponsor. I said, the song. What was the song? The song was sung by the Beatles. And the song was, when I was a young man, so much younger than today, I never needed anybody's help in any way. But now those days have gone. I'm not so self-assured. Now I find I've changed my mind, and I've opened up the door. So help me. Help me if you can. I'm feeling down. And I do appreciate you being around. Help me get my feet back on the ground. Won't you please, please help me? He said, Leo, there was help for me. I said, David, some years before, there was help for me too. Believe you me, we came here tonight for help. And there is help available. In these rooms, our lives will be transformed. We will live again. Some of us will love again. And hopefully all of us will laugh again. Thank you for listening.
Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.